it's Rich here. Today I thought we'd do a video on how to drive and operate a John Deere 4010 tractor. We have our 4010 sitting right back here, and we just recently got done fixing it up out of our shop here. Rebuilt the motor on it, and we redid all the hydraulic system. So let's tell you a little bit about it. So I thought I'd just start out by telling you guys a little bit about this tractor before we show you all the different controls and take it for a drive and show you how to drive it. I bought this tractor about 5 years ago from a dairy farmer up in northern Utah, Logan area. It gets pretty cold up there in the winters, and because he was using it on the dairy farm and it's cold temperatures up there for 6 months out of the year, you know, they probably used a lot of starting fluid on it. So when we bought it, it had, I don't know, about 6,200 original hours on this 4010, which is, you know, it's not that many for a big diesel engine like this. It's not that many. It's some people could say, hey, it's just finally getting broken in. But I think because of the way they were using it and feeding the cows with it for just 15-20 minutes and starting it up with the ether and those type of things they do winter after winter, I think it damaged the engine a little bit. So when we got it, you could barely get it started, even with ether. It just really hard to get it started. The compression was low. And honestly, I didn't buy it for the health of the motor, otherwise I might not have bought it. So when I bought the tractor, I obviously knew that the engine had some trouble, and but I bought it for the loader that it had on it. And the 87-year-old farmer, or whoever, I don't know how old he was, but he seemed like he was getting up there. Anyway, he wanted to sell it to me pretty bad, and I says, all right, well, you know what, I need a loader tractor anyway for lifting some heavier stuff. And anyway, it has the brackets on the front here for 58 loader, John Deere 58 loader. And that 58 loader is just sitting over here in our equipment yard. Anyway, we don't have it on right now, but we could put it on anytime we want. It goes on pretty fast. I think it down low, when the cylinders are closed up, I think it lifts about 5,000 pounds. And I think when it's fully extended, it's like 3,500 pounds, something like that. Anyway, that's about double what my other loader lifts, so that was what I needed. So I thought, well, we could fix up the engine. And the other reason I bought it, even with a damaged engine like that, is I just love these old classic tractors from the 60s, and even the earlier ones. And I like all tractors. I mean, you turn over here, I got an International too, and so I just love them all, green, red, or blue, yellow, whatever. But so that's kind of why we bought this one. And so what we did to it then, now that we knew the engine was bad, was we had it rebuilt here. I think the engine in it originally was a 380 cubic inch. It was like an 83 horse or something like that. I think that's what the tractor data said. And it did have the original engine in it, and that had never been rebuilt. But when we went in and rebuilt it, of course now they don't sell the 380 kit anymore, as far as I understand. So we put the 4020 kit in it, and so basically they bored out the cylinders just a little bit bigger for the new sleeves, and I guess that makes it a 404 now, so it's like a 90 something horse. Anyway, runs real powerful now that it has that new engine. And right now we got it hooked on to the 9-foot rototiller back here. So we've been doing some tilling of the fields with it. And you know, these tillers, they take a lot of engine power, a lot of PTO power. And so, you know, this rototiller here, this 9-foot, I think it's rated for, like, the minimum tractor is like a 90 horse and the maximum is like 160 horse to go on it or whatever. But basically this tiller is about as much as, even with this new engine, is as much as this tractor wants, you know. It's as much as it can handle. It gives it a good workout. I mean, so when we redid everything on the engine, we hooked it onto that tiller, and the engine started overheating. We thought, oh boy, maybe that tiller's too big. But one of the things about these John Deere 10 and 20 series, and even we had a 4430 that did this, it seemed like the thermostats, they just go out after a while, just from age. And so the thermostat wasn't working correctly in there, and so it was making it overheat, so it wouldn't let the fluid through correctly. So we just changed out that thermostat, which don't cost very much. I think it's like 40 bucks. And now it doesn't overheat at all. It just purrs real good. It's a full load for it, but it never overheats now. So there's a little bit of the history of the tractor. Like I said, we bought it about 5 years ago from that old farmer, and we put a new engine in it. And we also put new tires on the front here. We got those wider ones. I think they're an 11.5 15 for the loader, so it can have a little bit more chunkiness on the front here when it's maneuvering. And well, I guess so it don't pack the soil as hard as well. We got these back tires on it, and he had duals up there, and I was guessing from the history of the tractor, they did a lot of disking. The tongue on the tractor's been cracked and broken in several places. They re-welded it, but the hole where the pin is really worn. It's like, looks like the letter 0 instead of a circle. But anyway, they had duals for pulling those big discs and big grain drills and the different things they were doing up in the colder country. But of course we don't need it for that. So right now it's got 15.5 on the back. It's a little bit light and not good enough traction for some of the loader work I'm doing, especially when I get the weight on the front on the loader. So we're probably going to put some bigger tires on there, maybe some 16s. And maybe this winter we'll do that. Put some 16s on there and fill them full of fluid. I hate filling them full of fluid. It always rots out the rim, but kind of need that extra ballast weight. I mean, I guess I could put some weights on the axles too, but nice to have that extra ballast weight for the big loader up here. So I'll show you back here first on the tractor before we get up on the seat. And basically we have a pretty standard 3-point hitch, which, as you know, not everybody had originally, and John Deere certainly didn't have it. But on these new generation tractors, of course, they went and made sure they had it on them all, which is great, because now we still using the 3-point hitch to this day. So anyway, so on the 3-point hitch, they have some adjusters up here on both of the arms. You can see those, and ours are working pretty good. We went through and greased them all so they're quick and easy to adjust. A lot of them, you know, because the water runs down into this lip right here pretty easily, a lot of them get seized up. And we have a few tractors, we have a 2510 where it's kind of seized up, and we got, and you know, anyway, so, but that's how you adjust it, so you can level out your implement or whatever you got on there. And then of course that's good for cultivating and stuff, which is what these tractors really were meant for at that time. They hadn't quite gotten into the spray stuff quite as heavily, so they had a lot of mechanical cultivating going on. So these tractors were really set up for row cropping and creeping down rows and controlling the mechanical leveling stuff out and trying to make it as efficient as possible. Anyway, so this top link here is a mechanical one. On some of our other tractors, like I think on our 3010, which I'll show you guys in another video, we have like a hydraulic top link on most of ours now. We actually don't have very many mechanical ones anymore, because they're okay, they work. I mean, this one works real good. We just set it and forget it in the right spot. But it's pretty nice to have those hydraulic ones on there too, because you can adjust the pitch on whatever you're doing. Maybe you're using a grater blade or your cultivator shovels or whatever. You can adjust the different pitch on them. So anyway, that's kind of your 3-point hitch. Then down here we have where the PTO hooks in, and you can see here on the Rototiller it's a pretty big shaft on there. And then it's just got the 540 spline, and I guess they have this other thing where you can swap it out and make it a 1000 PTO spline, but I don't think we've ever used that on any of these tractors. And I think we had 1000 on our 4640, but that's probably because the 4640 could actually power something like that. These other tractors, I just don't think they have enough horsepower for them. I mean, even and I'll show you another tractor we have, our John Deere 2010. That's a real nice one, and it even has the 1000 PTO switchover, and it was a cool idea, but I don't think it was very realistic anyway. But so this little cover down here, it hangs on here is for storage, and I don't think we've used that recently. Hopefully it don't fall off. That thing's bent on there. Anyway, got grease on my hands now. So anyway, that cover fits over the PTO shaft there, so if you're not using it anyway, you can put the cover on it. And one of the nice things about these 4010 tractors about that cover is I have used it quite a bit, because on the 4010 the PTO lever is right here to engage it and disengage it, and to disengage it is back here, and it's right in your way as you climb on and off the tractor. And I hit it, and you hit it all the time. Sometimes it grabs your pocket or your belt or whatever, and it snags it. Anyway, they learned if you see on our 2510, the later the 3020s and the 40, they switched it to the other side, so that was a good move later. But for now, on the 10 series tractors, they had it on this side. So what I like to do with that PTO cover is put the PTO cover on if I'm using it for loader work, let's say, and get this handle out of my way, and just leave the PTO running all the time, and I have the cover on it so nobody gets hurt by it, and at least that moves it out of my way. So that's the PTO. So there's a little bit about how to operate the machine. And if we come back here again, we have some rear lights. I know on the original tractors they have a single light that comes up this way, but this one's got the lights on both fenders for the rear work. And it also has a thing for trailers, implement lights. I don't think that's working, and I don't know if that works on any of our, maybe it works on some of our tractors. I don't know. I've honestly I don't think I've ever used it, but another cool idea they had. Now down here we have our auxiliary hydraulic couplers, and basically the hydraulic hoses go in here and they control a ram on maybe a disc or something. You could lift up the wheels, put down the wheels, or anything that has hydraulic rams on it, maybe on a blade for angling. Anyway, these we don't have the loader hooked on right now, but usually we do have the loader hooked on, and our loader plugs into the back here so that the levers that control these hydraulics and control the rams are up on our dash. So our loader is controlled from the dash because of that, and it doesn't have a joystick or anything fancy like that. So with that being said, we got one thing over here I can show you before we go up there, and this is a water heater. We just put a brand new one on it when we redid the engine, and this is really nice because if I am going to use it in the winter and it gets cold, and I got it, luckily, you know, we park our tractors pretty close to our sheds and stuff where we have power, and we can plug it in, and it's like almost a little fish tank heater. It just keeps the whole engine block nice and rosy and warm, even in really cold temperatures. And that way we don't have to do what the farmer had to do up there, where they were putting too much starting fluid down the intake. So now we can just start it up instantly with the water heater there. So we're glad to have that on there. And then under here we got the batteries access. And they got those little tabs that open under there. And there comes the battery. And we still have the original setup on this. I know some of the different guys have gotten rid of this dual battery system, but a lot of them still have it. We still have it. And we got a battery under the deck here on both sides, and they're connected. So anyway, there's the batteries. And then on our little foot thing here, my dad, who's almost 80 years old, he really likes this one. I think it's off a 4430 or that series of tractor. And anyway, it makes it a little easier for him to get up on this thing. Because the original ones, you know, they make you do some gymnastics to get up on there. They got, I think it's on this side, yeah. Here's the original foot pedal, and it's like 3 feet off the ground. I gotta climb way up here to get there anyway. So he's got that one on there. So now I'm gonna climb up here, and we're gonna go up, and we got our handle here, and we got a handle on the fender too. So pretty good for somebody who's doesn't have good balance. They can get up here. Well, let me just show you the seat here too. Obviously this seat, we need a new one. It's pretty bad, but it'll work for today. And we have the seat controls under here, and those are both working, I believe. I have them set for me already, but basically you move this tabulature first, or maybe you push it up first. I don't know, but this handle lifts, and the seat can basically slide up and down on this rail under here. And you can set it for, if you're a tall guy, for your clutch and your brake pedals, or if you're a short guy. But I'm not that tall. I'm like 5'10", 5'11". So I set it about there. Seems to work pretty good for me. Alright, and now just show you over here. Show you all the boring stuff first before we drive the tractor. So we got our little toolbox over here, and got some old stuff in there. Anyway, I store all the pins and stuff in there. So here we are, looking at our controls here now. Let me get my key out. Let me show you the key. So this is the key to the John Deere, and pretty much the same key for all of them. For the 10 series and the 20 series, and I don't even remember what the key looked like on our 4430, but we don't have that tractor anymore. But anyway, it's pretty much the same key for all these earlier ones. So let's stick that in. There it is. And then on the 10 series diesel, we have a fuel pump stop and start, and this is how you stop the tractor. Some of our tractors don't have that. They just stop from the key. It turns off the fuel pump from the key, but this one actually has a manual fuel pump stop, which works just fine. So it's in the stop position. We're going to drive it here in a minute, so I'll put it in the open position, and then I'll turn our key power on, but I'm not going to turn it on yet. I'll just, because you can't hear me talk when I turn it on. And then this right here is for the lights. It's got, I don't know, 3 or 4 positions for the front lights, and then it turns on the back lights and the different things. And then this over here is for the ether. It has an ether can spray right here, where you can hook one up in there, which I'm not going to do because I got a new engine in here, so I'm not going to do it. But anyway, it has that there too, and it works. And then right in here, in this little doohickey pocket thing, is where some of the original paperwork would have been. We still have that original paperwork. I believe it's in a file at home, though. I didn't leave it in the tractor. Maybe I should have, but it was getting pretty old. It was like, What year is this tractor? I think it's a 1963. I can't remember, but let me just go show you where the serial number is in case you want to look it up. I've looked it up before. I've got it written down, but I can't remember right now. But maybe it's a 61 or 62 or 63. Looks like we have a little bit of paint on it. But basically, if you want to look up the year in the tractor, it's right underneath the auxiliary hydraulics in the back here. It's got the data plate right there. And it got covered by paint, darn it. So I don't know if you can see it, but anyway, I think it's a 1961. I think it said 8,800 and something on the serial number. All right, so let's get up here again. And on the steering wheel, we put a spinner ball, especially for our loader work. It's nice to be able to turn the front wheels fast and make sharper turns. So let's go through this control right here. Over on this side, we have the 3-point hitch lift, and we'll look at that in just a minute. And basically it raises those arms down there and it lifts up the whole rototiller. So that's what that one is going to do. And it says right there, lower and raise from 0 to 8. Anyway, so that's what that first one is, that first lever is going to do. These two over here are those auxiliary hydraulics, one for the one side and one for the other. And you know, like I said, we had the loader on there. Then what would end up happening is one is for lifting the loader up and down, and one is for tilting the bucket or the forks forward and backward. So that's what a good example of what those would be used for. This right here is for locking your 3-point hitch arms in a particular position, especially if you're trying to get continuity on the height. Mine don't work, so I'll have to fix that eventually maybe, but I may never fix it because I don't think I've ever used that. usually if it's working correctly, this lever stays put anyway. And then over here on this side, right underneath we have the throttle, and this is the hand throttle, and I believe this one allows it to go up to the working speed, which is like 1800 RPM. And then to go past that, it says right here that you have to pull the knob to override the stop, and you can go past that into like the road speed for the engine, because I guess they don't want you to rev the engine too high for a working load, but if you're going down the road and it's a light load, they don't mind if you rev up your engine to go faster on the road. I guess that's the point behind it. So we're going to start it here in a minute, and when I start it, I don't have it down at the very bottom. I just move it up just a little bit so that it has a little bit of gumption when it first gets started, gets some momentum going. And then over here we have the transmission. This is for selecting your gears, and as you can see on the chart, the gears are, there's 4 ranges. So you got 1, 3 in the slow reverse range. And that's kind of a range you would use if you're trying to move real slow and careful, maybe in a corral or something. Now down to the next one. Another one for gear 1 that we've used a lot is for when we cultivate mechanically our vegetables. So we'll use the slowest gear because we don't want to pile too much dirt around the plants, and we're trying to get really accurate, so going slow helps with that. So gear 1 gets used a lot in that role. Gear 2 and 5, the 5th gear in the medium reverse is one that I use a lot for the loader, for just general everything, and so that one does real good for that. And then the next range is the 4 and 7, and that one has a little bit of a higher reverse. I would say that's a good one if you're trying to do your work, but you're having to travel, like loader work. If you're having to travel a little bit of distance, that 7 really comes in handy to give you a little bit more speed to get your distances short. And then down here we have kind of our dedicated traveling gears, 6 and 8, and the 8 really is your road gear for going fast, and 6 almost just helps you get up to speed, I find. And then right in here we have this thing that says tow, and that's if you want to free up all the gears in there so that it's just in neutral, so that if you're going to tow it around, you can do that. And I've heard a lot of people call this the puzzle box transmission. It has a lot of areas that it moves around. And I have to say, it does take a little getting used to, but you know, I find it really handy. One of the things I really like about this tractor, especially if you're doing like blade work or loader work or stuff where you got to shuttle back and forth in reverse and forward a lot, comes in really handy to have that synchro transmission for the reverse and the forward. It makes it a lot quicker for you to, it's like a shuttle transmission almost, you know. So I really like that about this transmission that they designed. So on this side we have the brakes, and they are, each pedal is an independent brake on each wheel. And of course that comes in really handy when you're turning sharp at the end of a row, at the ends of the field where you're trying to turn sharp. Especially another place where it can really help you to have that independent brake on each wheel is in soft ground, and maybe you're pulling a big disc and you can't get traction very good to turn, your front wheels aren't doing the job. Then the brake can come in handy to help you swing that turn around. So those are kind of important, to be honest, especially when you're out doing the field work, the ground prep, and the pulling big drags like grain drills and stuff, and you need to be able to turn. And anyway, I like that. Another thing we have on this side is the foot pedal for the throttle. So not only do you have the hand throttle up here, but you got the foot throttle down there, and that's really nice for loader work, again, for shuttling and for driving down the road and driving conditions where you're driving a lot more and you're changing speeds a lot more. But the hand throttle comes in handy too, so that's why they would have that one too, is because this comes in handy more on the field work where you're trying to get a more steady RPM and have a steady situation where you can figure out the best ratios on your transmission to your RPM for whatever implement you're pulling. And so this is really important for the field work and for the actual farming work, whereas this one's really good for that other stuff I mentioned, moving around, if you're moving around a lot, traveling. And then over on this side we have our foot clutch, and of course you're going to need your clutch for doing your transmission gears over here. It's not an automatic like most cars nowadays, and we train a lot of people to drive our hayride in our fall time for the farm, and they've never driven a standard transmission where it has a clutch, and so this is a really good first time thing for them where they can learn how to use a clutch and not kill anybody because the tractor moves pretty slow generally, so it's a good opportunity for them to learn that. And there's one of our hayrides sitting right over there. All right, I'm going to start it up and we'll take it for a drive and try out some of these different gears. So started right up. It's got 6 cylinders in there. It's got a lot of power with that brand new engine. I warmed it up just a little bit before I started the video so that it doesn't have to warm up for too long. We can just go right ahead. Using the pedal right now. Alright, let's try gear number 1. But before I can go anywhere, I don't think I want to drag this rototiller around, so I better lift it up with the lever here. Let's see if it goes up. 1, All right, we got it about 16 inches off the ground there. That's good. You can see my lever is almost all the way up now. All right, so now we're in gear number 1. See how it goes here. All right, now this is at the lowest idle. I think we're traveling like 1.8 or 2 miles an hour, something like that. You could probably look that up on the tractor data if you were interested to know how slow it can go for cultivating. But it moves pretty slow. So let's go to gear number 2, see what that's like. Moves a little faster. If I give it some juice, it moves faster. Okay, how about gear number 3? You can see that one moves a little fast. Let me turn it up just a bit. Alright, how about gear number 4? Let's go all the way down to 4 on here. Good gear. Now let's go gear number 5. Feels like we're at a kind of a walking speed now. Let's go 6. Feels like maybe, well, I guess you can tell how many miles an hour it is. We have a little gauge up here. If I look at this gauge, it says if I'm in 6th gear, let's go to 6th gear. If I'm at about 8 or 900 RPM or whatever I'm at, it says that I'm about 3 miles an hour. I don't know how accurate that thing is sometimes. I guess kind of depends on the RPM gauge if it's working very good. Alright, let's try number 7. That one's quite a bit faster there. This is a nice gear for kind of traveling around the farm roads. Okay, let's do a reverse in the high reverse all the way down. That's the fast reverse. It reversed pretty fast. So let's try gear number 8. I'm going to start out in 6. Then I go number 8. Pretty fast. I think they said it's like 20 miles an hour when you're at your full RPM. So let's give it a try. Let's see how if we can get up to full RPM with it. Go hit the road for a minute and then take it for a drive. It's a good kind of do everything tractor. corn maze carnival going on right now. That's why all these cars are here. Field right across the road here. It's about 10 acres. As soon as it rains, I'm gonna till it under. Right now it hasn't rained in almost 3 months, so it's really dusty. It's hard on the rototiller. There we go. Let's see her go. Fuel stop there, and then that's it. All right, well, that was fun to take that tractor for a ride. I haven't driven that one for a while. Like I said, we've been meaning to do some rototilling on some of the fields, but it's been so dry out here. We were just waiting for some rain so we didn't have to eat all the dust. Anyway, we sure love these old John Deere tractors, these 10 series and 20 series. A lot of fun to drive and a lot of fun to use, and a lot of fun to work on too, because they're all mechanical, you know, not all computered out and everything. So anyway, that's it for this video, you guys, and I hope you enjoyed our how-to video on the John Deere 4010, and we'll see you on the next one.